Great morning, grand rising, day clean, happy Monday. Welcome everyone, all entrepreneurs, all guests. My name is Kathy Weathersby. It's my pleasure to welcome you guys, and it's my pleasing plum pleasure to introduce to some and announce to others my friend, my mentor, our awesome, hardworking, beautiful CEO, Melissa Boston Atoyebi. She is a mom, a grandmom, an author, a co-author, the leader and visionary of this awesome company. And without any further ado, from Chicago today, I want to bring on Melissa Boston Atoyebi. Melissa, you out there?
Hey, Kathy, good morning. I am out here. Thank you so much for that introduction. Just appreciate you for all that you do. Every time I jump on this call, I mean, it just brings a big smile to my face. First, listening to all of our callers calling in from all across the country, but then you and how you so graciously introduce everyone, and you're just so humble, so modest. Kathy is our VP of Finance. She is one of our Emerald directors leading the charge. So we just thank you and appreciate you for all that you do. And I want to say to everyone on the line, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm actually back here in Chicago, arrived right over the weekend. So I'm excited to be back here in the city. A lot of exciting things are happening. This is our last day for Women's History Month, but we know Women's History is every day of the year. But we're going to have a very special call today, and I know there will be another call happening as well. So there's going to be a couple more calls left in this dynamic series. Hopefully you've been tuning in because it has absolutely been so powerful. And I always love to start this call by sharing the meaning of Akana means in the hands of God. Our mission, we believe health, wealth, freedom, and legacy are our birthright. By offering the most life-changing products and an innovative business, we empower people to elevate to their full potential. I know today, we still do have our 15% discount. So it's not too late for you to jump in and get your orders in. Super excited to extend that through the end of this month. And so super excited about that. Also, too, I say a big shout out to all of our double CV qualifiers. We've been recognizing you here on Facebook. So hopefully you've had a chance to tune in to see all of our awesome, awesome winners who qualified for the double CV. And also, too, for those of you who've qualified for Florida, oh my goodness, hopefully you've checked the video out. I know we aired that first last year during the contest, but many of you might have forgot exactly what you even won. So we put it back out there with a list of all the winners. So we are super excited to host each and every one of you in Florida coming up May 15th through the 18th. And we do have some special guests. If you saw the video, you know exactly who's joining us, but we do have Chef Sharman from Atlanta. Now, if you've had the experience of having Chef Sharman, you already know what you're in for. In fact, we brought him with us to Vegas, and that was exciting. So the Rubies, when you had your Rockstar experience, this was the personal chef for the Rubies. And then guess what? We brought him in when we had our special event here in Chicago, and he was a part of the Diamond House when they had a chance to come and have their brunch. And it was just an all-star brunch. I mean, amazing, amazing. And then, of course, he catered one of the first parties that we had when we had the Diamonds in Dubai party at the office. He was the caterer for that. And so now he'll be joining us in Atlanta. He's joining us in Orlando, and we are super, super excited about that. Also, too, Christian Phillips, we're super excited that he's going to help us co-host this trip. So we are there to have some fun, to really cut loose, and to ensure that each and every one of you are catered to from head to toe. So we cannot wait to host you there with us in Orlando, Florida. So make sure you secure your ticket, get us the details, because we also will be providing transportation, to and from the airport, as well as all of your meals and accommodations. Speaking of meals and accommodations, I do have a very special announcement. I'll get more details at the end because we do want to get quickly to our interview with Kayada Cooks and our phenomenal Diamond Terry Anderson. But I do want to share we have really something special for 2026. one of the goals of the retail retreat is really to build something that's really inclusive of everyone that's hitting CV consistently. If you have made up your mind that you're going to, be a CV warrior, right? Every month you're out there getting those customers and you're hitting that 500 or more, really it's going to start building a pathway that you will always be able to qualify for these retail trips that we're taking now on an annual basis. And so what we want to do, because we want to make sure, again, this is another inclusive trip, our goal is to take more people than we had in Florida. And so we're actually hosting 2 very special trips in 2026. One of them, really, we see everybody getting, especially if you're hitting that 500 CV. And then one of them is really more of a top 10. So it's going to be really pushing and driving the top 10. And so I'm going to give you details about that at the end of this call, but I'm going to go ahead and quickly step out the way because, again, we have a very dynamic and inspiring lineup for you today. And so I'm going to bring up someone to the line who has qualified for her double CV. I know she's going to be joining us on many of our retail trips. In fact, she's pushing towards diamond, so we know she is a diamond in the making. She's someone with decades of experience working with faith-based communities, really helping to empower organizations to go to the next level. She also has an extensive background in the financial services world. And so we're super, super excited that she's now here helping us in so many different roles, from helping out even with our awesome Elevated Spa event to helping us with our communication and emails and just facilitating many functions here with us at Akana. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and say good morning, and I'm going to turn this call over to Kayada Cooks. Are you unmuted, dear?
My apologies. I thought I was. Good morning. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Our awesome and amazing CEO, Melissa Boston. I just can't thank you enough for the opportunity, for just even receiving me, and Akana Nation. I love you all so much. It's just amazing. And this process with these interviews have definitely sealed the deal for the diamond in the making. So I am off to a run, and I am so very, very honored to bring up this person. She is a mother, an entrepreneur, a diamond director, founding member, a Black Card member, certified wellness coach, medical account executive, with holding a bachelor's in Columbia College, but she is so much more. Before this interview, we interviewed Bernadine Kirkland. I call her the thunderstorm. This lady coming up right now, I coined her the quiet storm. She moves with such grace. She's so subtle, but yet so sound. Her interview was absolutely phenomenal. So it's an honor to bring up the awesome, amazing Terry Anderson. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, Kayetta?
I can hear you well, anointed woman of God. I want to thank you for taking the time to share your journey with us. And your success in Akana has truly been inspiring. And I'm excited to dive into the mindset, strategies, and experiences that help you achieve this level. So let's first start off with, who is Terry Anderson outside of the things I mentioned before I brought you up? How was your life growing up?
Okay, so first of all, I want to say thank you for this opportunity, Akana. Thank you, Kayetta. And good morning, Akana Nation. I'm excited to be here and share my story. And so, when I heard the other diamonds talking, I was like, oh, wow, we're going back to when we were children. So, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. And my mom was a young mother when she had me. So actually, she was 16 years old. She hadn't finished high school. And before she had me, and she was beginning her life. She finished high school at night school, and she was a go. My mom was an excellent. She's a go getter. So she decided to move to Chicago, and she left me with my grandmother for a year or so until she got settled. Of course, she came back and got me, and I did grammar school here in Chicago. I did high school here in Chicago. And as Kayetta said, I graduated from Columbia College, also here in Chicago. Right out of Columbia College, one of my first jobs was I worked at NBC Studios in Chicago. And that was exciting for me because Columbia College, I graduated with communications degree as well as radio, TV production. And so attending college was exciting for me. I enjoyed the creativeness because if anybody know about Columbia College, it's a creative college. So to get my job, I get a job at NBC Studios in Chicago. I was over the top. And so I was working in administration there, and after a couple of years of working there, I realized that I was better suited somewhere else. So I moved. I left I left NBC Studios, and I decided that I wanted to take an adventure. And at this time, I believe I was about 23 years old, and I decided to move to New York City. I hope everybody can hear me. I can't really project my voice louder because I have people in my house who are still sleeping. So I hope you can hear me clearly. But so I lived in New York, and actually I went to New York to be a creative person. And what I mean by being creative, working as a editor. At the time, I thought I wanted to be an editor, and I got a job as a opportunity to become an editor. And I worked there for a couple of years. And the job, the owner, I really kind of enjoyed what I was doing. And I was young and just full of energy. But the owner went out of business. And after I had worked there for a couple of years, because I was going to settle into that job. And I just remember being really disappointed because I'm like, wow, I found an ideal job, and here the owner went out of business. And I remember calling my mom to tell her that, at that point I kind of felt stumped. I'm like, what do I do? And my mom, I remember her, I called her up and she said, my mom was a stern type of person, very focused. She said, you're either going to be a manager or you're going to get into sales. And I said, okay. And I thought about it and I prayed on it and I decided, I said, I don't know if I want to manage people, but I do, maybe I'll try sales. So here I am in New York with no family, but I found a small sales course, like a training for you to become a salesperson. And I decided to take the sales training. All right. So when I was done with that, they help you find a job. And I'm like, oh, okay. So my first job, I was working in sales and temporary servicing, selling a temporary service. And they said, well, okay, we'll try you out. But first you got to do telemarketing. So I started doing the telemarketing, and I hit it off well. I did it so well. They were like, wow, okay, so we want to put you in the field now. And they put me in the field, and I did well with that too. So, I was surprised. I was like, oh, wow, I'm enjoying this. So long story short, I did that job for a couple of years, and I started to get homesick. So I decided to come back to Chicago. And this was around the time that Harold Washington died. I remember that. And so since I had some sales under my belt and I had communication, I just decided, let me get a job here in Chicago. And I got a job with what's called Prime Cable at the time, but it's the same job as Comcast. And I was working there selling advertising, the commercials that are on TV. And so I enjoyed that a whole lot. And so while I was in that job, actually, I was responsible for going around talking to small business owners, mom and pa, and talking to them about doing advertising to promote their business. And I remember my boss used to tell me all the time. He would say that, you know, if nobody knows about you, how can you promote your business? So people have to know about you. And that was something that up until Canada always rang true in my mind. But let me just say, in the sales job, I remember when I was driving around looking for small business and just having a hunch and seeing them on other cable channels. I saw Karen's restaurant. She was on the north side. And this is how the health piece started for me. This was like in 93. I drove past the restaurant and somehow my spirit just told me, go in that restaurant. And so I went in the restaurant and I said, well, you know, I didn't even know what to order. And somebody just said, have a green soup. And so I said, okay, I want to have a green soup. And I had the green soup. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this is nasty. That's because my taste buds were off. You know, I was eating the wrong foods at the time. But I decided, Spirit led me to go back to that restaurant a couple of times. And, you know, that was my first introductory to raw food. And I never took any friends with me or my colleagues. I just went by myself because I didn't want to hear the negative thoughts and the feelings about it. It was something for me and I was enjoying it. So going back to the job, I worked there, and I also worked at WVON in radio sales. And I got to a point in my life that I got married, and I met my husband in the arts. I was going to theaters and things like that, and I met him there, and we got married. I'm moving forward. I hope you guys are following me. So I'm moving forward, and we had been married for about 3 years, and I was still working at Prime Cable, and I went to the doctor to have a checkup, and I found out that I had fibroids, and I'm like, what? You know, and 3 years before that, I went to the doctor. I had a clean bill of health, so I'm thinking, how did I get fibroids? That's crazy. So long story short, they're always encouraging you to have surgery. And at the time, the way I was thinking, I decided to have surgery. And I wasn't happy with it, but I'll tell you, the only reason I really want to have surgery was because everything was moving so fast in my life. And I was wondering, how did I get fibroids? You know, for me, that meant a lot. You know, I wanted to know how and why. Why did that happen? And so I decided to have some surgery so I could have some time off. And it's crazy to me today, but at that time, that's the way I was thinking. So I had the surgery, and during my surgery time, I did have some time off, and I just kind of thought about my life. And I realized me and my husband wasn't on the same page, and we weren't really growing together. And I just realized I was under a lot of stress, you know, kind of like a Tasmanian devil, just doing too much all the time. You know, and mostly it was work related, but it wasn't purpose driven. So I decided that after the surgery and I healed and everything, I remember telling my husband that I was going to resign from my job and just take some time off. And I remember him telling me, that's crazy, you know, because at the time I was making $100,000 plus. And I was like, that's not what I want to hear from my husband. So long story short, I decided to resign from the job, and I decided to resign from the marriage. And I moved on. And from that point on, I just took some time. I had saved up enough money to pay my way for rent for 3 to 6 months. And I just wanted some time off to think about my life. And during that time, I went back to school and I took some more business classes. And this was probably like the late 90s. I decided to take these business classes, and I felt like I needed to get stronger in that area. But also during the time, I remember a friend of mine's calling me up and saying, Terry, I'm having a raw food event at my house, and would you like to come? And I thought to myself, yeah, sure, I'll come. So I went to her house on this raw food event, and we all brought in raw vegan food. And it was amazing. I mean, the night, just walking in the room, and about 10 or 15 people brought raw dishes, and the room was electrifying. It was just, everything was just at a high vibration. And then when we ate the food, we were all charged up. And I'm like, wow. So that was the beginning of me and my business partner. Her name was Diane McNeil. We we ended up doing those raw food vegan potlucks in Chicago for over 10 years, at least once a month. We moved all over the city of Chicago. And that was when I really started to, of course, I was all in, eating raw vegan food and promoting it, and we focused on inviting people to it and promoting it a whole lot. And we even did a festival at the Garfield Conservatory where we had over 1,000 people coming, and it was just one of the most amazing events in my life. And I just realized I love this. So
Wow.
we did that. Yes. So I did
Wow.
that for a course.
I'm
Did you
sorry.
want to?
I just, you dropped so many nuggets. I just want to stop just for a second and just hone in on that. Mother was young when she had you. You obviously were raised. You did share with me that she raised you and ruled with an iron fist, but I see that gave you the foundation to be courageous because you went out, you took risk, you met challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge, and you found a way to move through those challenges and keep moving forward, and being resilient in your life. Um, what's interesting to me is how God has, through all the adversity, God is guiding you to the area you're about to go in now. So we're talking about sales, we're talking about education, communication, right? And you're just trying to figure it out.
Right.
The way you said, I resigned from that job and I resigned from my marriage. You're so strong the way you coast through that. But I just want people that's listening, just to think about, and even in their lives, how things unexpected may happen that could be devastating to them, or you could just be numb because you want so much more. To stay focused on where you're going, not even knowing where you're going. You just know you want better, and better is out there for you. And then you get hit with attacks with your body, with a woman issue, which most women who work under stress, and they're always stressed, those fibroids begin to form. God introduced you to a person that led you into healthy living and eating raw. What I love about what you said was you were in the room, and I talk about all the time being in the right room. You said that room was electrifying. That room did something for you. And when I interviewed you, you said, "This is great." And your sentiment towards that was, "How can I help you?" And she said to you, "Join me in business." I want people that's listening to know that we are looking for people that are looking for us. And they are out there. They are out there. We have to open our mouth and let them know. You said was it your father said, if nobody knows about you, how can they support you? We got to stop being secret account agents, right? We got to stop being secret account agents so people know that all we have to do is open our mouth. And there's going to be a Terry Anderson that says, "I want to join you in business." I thought that was powerful. I didn't want to just breeze through that. But let's get into the partnership and moving into the Akana. So you talked about vending, and you are a wellness vendor, and you were also making products. You prospected all of
Mhm.
the time, and but
Mhm.
then someone prospected you from Amway. From
Right,
Amway.
right.
Tell me about that encounter.
Okay, so yeah, so I eventually I was led into making herbal tinctures. I met a master herbalist, and he shared with me a formula how to make black walnut tinctures. And I got good at it. I mean, I went out and picked it, and I came home and harvested, and I bottled it and labeled it and all that. And I was vending because I've been vending since like 1998 or something like that. And I was at first I was vending education, then I eventually started vending the black walnut tincture. And I was at this huge festival, vegetarian festival, and someone stopped by my booth and just started complimenting me and saying nice things to me. And I'm like, okay, is she going to buy something or what? And I went on to promote my product, and she never said anything about that. And she said, well, I'm gonna be in your neighborhood next week. I would love to meet with you. And she was such a nice lady. I said, okay, yes, but I was like, what are we meeting for? After I walked away from, her, I'm like, why am I meeting her? But I was drawn into meeting her. So I was like trying to get my resume together and dress professional, like I was going out for an interview. But I was like, this is not an interview. It's crazy. But I ended up meeting with her, and she recruited me into the Amway business, and I'm like, that's what this is for. So I had my Amway. I worked with Amway. That was my introduction into network marketing. And uh, unlike Gigi, I didn't really make a lot of money at Amway, but I got a lot of education. I mean, it was some of the best education outside of Akana's education. And I learned so much about the business, and I learned so much about personal development. And because I realized I love personal development, I remember here I am in a room with all these people who are like doctors and lawyers, because a lot of doctors and lawyers and technicians, IT people were in Amway, and they were reading books every month. And at the time, I wasn't reading a book a lot. Yeah, I hadn't read books since college, and so here, some of them was reading 3 and 4 books a month. So I challenged myself to start reading a book a month, and I got it done. I was proud of myself, and the personal development was wonderful. So I did the run with Amway, and I enjoyed it. But I eventually moved out of Amway, and I'm going to talk about now how I was introduced to Melissa Boston. So this is some years later. I was my one of I was experiencing some eye health. My eyes were watering a little more than they should water, and I was not feeling good about this. And one of the things I've always done is just, among my circle of friends, I let them know what I'm experiencing, because at this point I had gathered. My circle of friends were all like holistic people, different. Some were in raw food, some was in, iridology, some was in massage. It was just a circle of them. And so this particular friend of mine said, Terry, I may have something for you. And I said, really? And she says, yeah, because I went to the doctor, and, they want to do the doctor way and take medicine and things like that. And for whatever reason, at this point, after going through eating the raw food for a couple of years and things like that, and all the natural people I was meeting, I didn't want to do this the way the doctors had told me to do it. I just didn't want to do it. So it wasn't adding up for me. So I wanted to find a natural solution that I can bring harmony to this situation. And so I went to the meeting, and I remember seeing Melissa Boston, and I saw Dr. Rita, and they introduced me to a vape pen. And I had never smoked in my life, and I never was the type to smoke marijuana. I didn't smoke cigarettes. I didn't do any of that. But I wanted some help with this issue, and so I was like, how do you use it? You know, how much does it cost? And, all that happened. I paid for it, got it, and, coughing up a storm and didn't know what I was doing, but I was looking for relief. And so eventually I got the hang of it. And, and through that, I realized that I had anxiety all my life, and I didn't, I didn't put it into words. I just kind of lived with it. You live with your anxiety, but the vape pen helped me calm my anxiety down, and it also, the eye problem, got way better, and I just felt like a different person. And I remember asking, "Well, is there a business opportunity with this?" And I asked for the business opportunity because I was like, why not? So found out it was a business opportunity and was with the other company, and it started that, and excelled. I think I became a Ruby with that company, and when Melissa and Dr. Rita and the rest of the team opened up Wakana, I moved in. I followed Melissa because I was like, this is the brains right here. I could see who the brains was since I've been around so many sharp people. And so I followed Melissa, and we got into Wakana, and just kept excelling. And I was ambitious. Because my mom was a go-getter. She got things done. She achieved many accolades in life. I'm not going to even get into that, but I just saw how to just keep pushing through these challenges. And so I'm going to talk about now how going diamond. So from there,
let me just cut in 1 second. I just want to ask you, so is Melissa Boston your upline? What's your lineage? So did Melissa bring you in?
So my upline is Dr. Rita and then Melissa Boston.
Okay, gotcha.
You're right.
Okay,
right.
So your diamond run. Yeah. Let's get into it.
Yeah,
Who was with you on your diamond run? Who was your major players on your diamond run?
Well, can I just say this? I want to just say going diamond is a mindset. You have to make the decision that you want to go diamond. That's the first thing. And as you know, going diamond, you have to have 3 legs. A minimum of 3 legs. You can have 20 legs, but you got to have a minimum of 3 legs. So I went into diamond knowing that I had to have 3 strong legs. So my 3 strong legs, and this is really interesting how this one girl, her name was Lori Newson. Newson. Lori was a friend of my mom. And I just remember this before my mom passed, my mom was having some back pains, and I said, I said, Mom, you having back pains? I said, why didn't you tell me this? I said, I got a solution for back pains. All the moving around, that wasn't clear, and so, or she just didn't mention to me that she had back pains. And that particular day, I heard her and I saw it, and I gave her some of our pain cream. So my mom was an influencer also, just by nature. And all her friends did everything that she told them to do. And she just inspired everybody around her. So she called Lori and said, "Oh, my Lori, this pain cream is the best. If you got any kind of pain, you need to use it." And so Lori came to the meeting, and Lori was a go-getter. And she came in and got impressed and joined the company with us. So Lori ended up bringing on somebody named Will I Am, and he just got a lot done in a short amount of time. So he brought in about 40 people. That was my one leg, and the second leg was Diane McNeil that I was telling you about with the raw vegan food, and she brought in Dr. Betty and Shirley and Meridian. And then I had another leg, was Lee Bay. Lee Bay was my partner in crime. We did a lot of bending together and just a lot of business together. And he brought in Joseph and a whole nother team of people. So, as you know, when you go diamond, your goal is 33 $3,300 from each leg for you to make 100,000. Yeah. So um, I want to back up a little bit because I wanted to talk about, I decided I wanted to strategize what I needed to do to go diamond. Also in that year, I became I became a wellness coach. I did the 21-day cleanse, and I really believe that helped me a lot because I just cleared out my brain. I just cleared out everything, all the waste, the mucus, the parasites, all that was, just release that, and that felt good. And I knew I needed to increase my activities, and I had to create that mindset. So, that year we had a March Madness, and I remember me and my team. I was coordinating a team. We came in third place, and I was excited about that. We came in third place because at the time I was caring for my mom. She was alive, and she was living with my sister. And my sister, I would go and stay with my sister 3 to 5 days out of 7 days, and I did that for 2 years. And then my diamond run, I had a schedule that was ugly. It was a very ugly schedule, but I made it happen anyway. I got over to my sister's house, and when I was there at my sister's house, I told my sister, "Listen, if you want to just sit up and look at your thumb, that's what you do, because I'm here to help you with my mom. I'm gonna be here to do my part." And so, I woke up with my mom all through the night, and everything was just really kind of a rough run. But I was determined I was going to do it. And I was also determined that I was going to go diamond. So it's going back to the March Madness, that was happening at the time.
I'm sorry, Carrie, can I, let me just interject. I want to make sure, are we on the diamond run?
Yes.
Are you on the diamond run when you're
Yes, I'm on the diamond run while I'm taking care of my mom. Yep. I'm on the diamond run. So also, on this run, I realized that I needed to get out there and meet some new people. So in a month's time, I was vending 2 to 3 times every weekend. Every weekend, I had something lined up for at least 7 months. So I was only in my house for 3 days, and in those 3 days, one of those days I was vending. So it was a lot of activity going on. Also, with my team meetings, we has decided to start reading the book, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, and we took one chapter a week, and in those chapters we would talk about 3 points. So me, the team, and I, we were just, we were feeding our brains, and I was feeding my mind, and I was always reminding the team, hey, let's just focus on income producing activities. I was driven about income producing activities and following the Sales Academy. And at the time, Melissa that year offered something called the Diamond Pack, where you could like pre-sale some products, and myself and a lot of team members bought that package. So all that was like a accumulation to add towards your diamond points. And on top of that, there was a vision board that was created, and I was looking at my vision board every day. So it was a lot of activity. It was a lot of fast movement, but it was very focused and driven and just determined this is what I want to do.
Wow. I'm going to, for the sake of time, I'm going to mention some things that you shared in the interview. You said you said that Akana had the best education, and you wanted to learn something. And if people want to learn something, they need to pay attention. You said you looked at everything. You did posts in your free time. You studied. Your mentality was that I always like to win, and
Yes.
You didn't do a lot of talking. You took action. And you mentioned Eric Worre, Fraser, Boo, Melissa,
Brooks,
and
Fraser Brooks. Yes.
Brooks. Thank you. Fraser, Brooks, Melissa, and Phyllis. as one of your key mentors, and you talked about your activities. You said you vended like a lot, 3 weekends for 6 months during that run, and you said that you said that they coined you the queen of vending, which was
Yes.
important because we talk about in one of the calls branding yourself. When you brought those legs on, I'm glad that you mentioned the focus was 3 legs doing 33,000
Mhm.
in sales in that month, and you talked about the importance of meeting with your team and communicating. You said to me when I asked you, how did you duplicate yourself? What was your focus? Here's what you said. You said showing up and participating. The system was showing up and participating, getting the certifications and being on getting on certification training. You said being a product of the product, and then making sure that people share their experience. Share your experience. You're very sound and fundamental in what you do. What I love what you said is you said letting people know how the products work and that you love simplicity. Sometimes people make this thing harder than what it is. When you
Mhm.
keep it simple and understand, this is what you said. The need is out there, and people just want to know how it works. And and then you talked about 3 things that you focus on. You call them coined phrases. Do you remember what those phrases were? The
Um,
stay focused on creating.
okay, I say every day, prayer, meditation, visualization, affirmation. Was that?
Yes, prayer,
Okay.
meditation, visualization, affirmation, and relaxation.
Relaxation. Yes, yes, yes. Those are my core principles. Those things every day. I pray twice a day. I meditate as often as possible. During my prayer time, I'm seeing what I want to happen, and I just, when my body tells me to stop, I stop and go and get some rest.
Mhm. Mm. Now, you mentioned 3 things. You said stay focused on creating income producing activities.
Hmm.
You ask yourself, is this the best use of my time?
Right.
And
Oh,
am I
those.
doing the best?
Oh, yes, yes,
Tell
yes.
me about that.
Yes. Am I doing my best? Those 3 things. Yeah. There's so many, tools to pull from.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I also want to say, I definitely want to give a shout out to my team because during this last year, with my mom dying and the after death and dealing with her after death and dealing with her estate and dealing with a move, a lot was happening. And my team, there was a time that all of that happening, I needed to focus on it even more. And I told my team that I wanted to staff our meetings because I needed more attention on that project I was working on. And
Mm-hmm.
a couple of members told me, no, we don't want to stop. And I said, well, uh, they said, well, you're going to lose the continuity, Terry. And I said, well, I need somebody to step up. And my team stepped up and ran the meetings just over this last summer, at least for 3 or 4 months without me. And I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Betty, Stephanie, Iola, Cherie, Susan, Crystal, Meridian, Shirley, Brenda, Kalila, Sandra, and Royal. I mean, you guys that showed up and showed out and kept that meeting going with or without me. And I'm back on my team meetings, but I just thought that was amazing. And, we love Akana and we definitely want Akana to grow. And I just want to end up saying, I do have say, remember diamonds are created under pressure. And I swear you all just heard my story. I was under a lot of pressure, but hey, bring it on. Bring it on.
Wow, I'm sorry about the loss of your mom.
Thank you.
You have a heart of a true champion, and your team is absolutely amazing. And I'm so excited for you. And there's so much more that's going to come out in your newsletter because you shared so many different nuggets that we just don't have time to share on here. But before we leave, I want you to share your core values for your business, if you could, and any final words that you'd like to share with the comments.
Yes. So I'd like to say, to the Kana Nation, finish what you started. Finish what you started, because the opportunities, the support, the education is here. And also I'd like to say there's a saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So, decide that you can, and decide that this is what you want to do, and ask for help, because it's a lot harder when you do it by yourself. But when you ask for help, you'll be surprised how God helps you and lay the pathway for things to work out in your behalf. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Wow. Well, thank you so very much for this powerful interview and just being transparent. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your experiences. Your journey is truly inspiring, and just thank you so much.
Thank you, Kayeda.
I want to turn this back over to the awesome and amazing CEO, Melissa Boston. You got the ball.
Wow, ladies, I tell you what, that was absolutely not just fascinating, but powerful. And when you say the quiet storm, Terry, that's exactly who you are, because Terry, what you're doing, sometimes behind the scene, maybe not making a lot of noise, but the consistency. And I know a lot of times I pull on you, anything health and wellness. I feel like you really are a pioneer in this community for what you were doing to lead in the forefront. And oh my goodness, I'm just so proud of you, proud of your team. And I really feel that you nailed it when you said the Diamond Run doesn't really start in November. You didn't really say it, but that's what I'm listening to and I'm hearing you. It was like the Diamond Run was starting that whole year, like whether it was March Madness, what you were doing to participate. It's a process, guys. And so many times we wait for November to try to run Diamond. We wait for the month, but it starts months before that. And that really is the key to success. And I'm telling you what, that was just truly, truly awesome and amazing. Your influence, again, is just extraordinary. And Kayeda, as always, you knocked it out the park, okay? And so with that being said, who's ready to run with us, right? Who's ready to run with us on our next trip in 2026? Maybe you're looking at this year and you're thinking, man, I missed it. And I know there's a few of you that actually aren't able to participate, okay? And so there's going to be opportunities for you to roll some of those points over for 2026. So we're going to get with those who might not be able to participate. I know there's at least 3 people so far that I know, but it looks like we're going to have well over 25 people in Florida. So that's awesome. But we want to double this, okay? In fact, maybe even triple it, okay, when we talk about 2026, because I know there's so many of you who really are the diamonds in the future, but it's going to start with you hitting CV, because we know that a part of the success process is we have to have customers, right? And customers are the lifeline of our business. They're the lifeblood of the business, okay? And so what we're going to do in 2026, in fact, there's a big, huge promo that's coming behind this, but I'm going to at least share with you what I can share with you now. And so there's 2 opportunities, okay? Now, some of you are going to automatically qualify for both opportunities, right? Because you're going to finish in what we call our top 10. So we have a top 10 drive, and the top 10 not only will win Bermuda, but you're also going to be a part of our big, huge Vegas retail conference, okay? So what's exciting is in 2026, we're going to do a retail conference where we're really going to talk about and have experts in there that are going to help people retail. But some of you are going to win that trip absolutely free, okay? And so that is in Las Vegas. So we were in Las Vegas a few years back. We're going to go to Vegas again, But I'm excited because this time when we go to Vegas, you don't have to get to Ruby, right? Remember last time to get a trip to Vegas, you had to go all the way up to Ruby. Well, this time, this whole retail point system, it's going to help get you there. And our goal is for everyone who wants to be there on our dime to be there on our dime. So you really have to just make that decision and make that decision right now. And what we're going to do is there's going to be parts of this run and of course, you're going to conclude at the end of April. So some of you who've been a little late to the party, you might feel like, how do I catch up? Well, no worries. We're going to actually have a second part of the run that will extend in May and June. And so what I'm telling you is if you hear my voice and if you have a desire to hit these top ranks, come with us to Vegas, come with us to Bermuda in 2026. And that's going to really set the tone for your diamond run. And so with that being said, tonight there's a very special call. So if you are qualified, perhaps you just upgraded. Some of you have just upgraded. So now you're qualified to get certified as a wellness coach. Tonight, guess what? Our own Dr. Betty is going to really help lead the charge on that class tonight. And that's going to actually kick off at 6 p.m. We're going to get in a little early because we want to make sure we get that class done within 2.5 to 3 hours so that we can get you off for those of you who are on the East Coast, okay? So make sure you tune in. It's not available to the public, so you have to get the link. So if you aren't a certified wellness coach or if you're not paid for the class, make sure you reach out to customer service to learn what you can do to participate in that 6-week certification process. And with that being said, at 2:30 p.m., of course, we want you to join our trichologist. We want you to join her at 2:30 p.m. Central for SaveOurStrands.com. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, our Diamond Factory and all the calls that happen throughout the week. Our 2025 vision for Akana is clear: health, wealth, freedom, and legacy for every person we touch. Let's move forward together. No looking back. I want each and every one of you to have an Akana day, and we're going to see you at the top, the very top, the tip top.